It's January. If you want to be a property owner by the end of the year, what do you need to do? So it's January now, and your New Year's resolution is, I want to be mortgage ready by December. Now, one, what does mortgage ready mean? Two, how do you get there? And three, why would you want to? Hi, my name's Mand Walker, and I am a mortgage advisor and the mortgage coach, and I'm here to give you tips and tricks on mortgages and money matters. After all, it is the name of the channel, right? Now, firstly, I'd like to say I believe with a passion that everybody, and I mean everybody, has a right to own their own home. So if it is something you're interested in, listen on. If it's not, why not? So, as I said, we're going to be talking about get mortgage ready and what that means. Now, basically, when you go to apply for a mortgage, you need to be mortgage ready. So what I mean by that is when you go to apply for a mortgage, there's certain things they're going to ask you. They're going to ask you about your credit. So they don't actually say, oh, is your credit score 999 or anything like that. They actually look at your credit history. And I do have a video all about credit history and how to improve your credit report, tips and tricks. But what I would say is one thing how you can improve your credit instantly is to make sure that all your addresses are correct and you're registered to vote. Those two things will instantly improve your credit. Then the more elements that are a little bit more hard work are all to do with your actual credit levels and credit utilization. Now, when you're looking at that, how much credit have you got outstanding? How does that compare to your salary? Have you maxed out every single credit card you've got? These are questions that you need to look at and analyse. The next thing they look at are your bank statements and pay slips. Now, if you're employed, they'll want 3 months pay slips and they'll want the bank statements to show one, all your credits coming in, so the money hitting your bank account, but they also want to see all your commitments. So even though you've listed what the balances are, they want to see how much is coming out on a monthly basis, because that is very important. The next thing to look at is if you're not employed and you're self-employed, they will want to look at your accounts. So it's normally the last 2 years of accounts. So make sure that they look nice and clean. Now, at the end of the day, a lot of people don't pay themselves a very high salary in the beginning because they want their business to run very well. When it comes to mortgages, you need to pay yourself the maximum for 2 years. So it shows you've got a high income and then you're more likely to get a mortgage. The next thing that they look at after, so let's recap. So they look at your credit, they look at your bank statements, they look at pay slips, they look at 2 years of accounts. And then the next thing they look at in any other commitments that you haven't actually mentioned, or if you're on benefits or things like that. So make sure all of that is in check. The other thing is when you're looking at your credit report, look at who you're financially linked to. I once had a client that even though she was divorcing her husband because he had a really bad credit and they were still financially linked, it did affect her credit. So just be aware of the addresses that you've lived at, that there's no debt linked to those addresses, and that's also happened with utility bills, that kind of thing. And then also look at your financial associates and who you're linked to. So all of those will help you get mortgage ready. Now, why is it important? By working on all of these areas, it means that you're more attractive to the lender, and it means that it makes it a lot easier for you to get a mortgage. So that's the first thing. But no one, well, not no one, but the majority of people do not get 100% mortgages, right? So you need a deposit. Now, the best way to work that out is what percentage do you put down based on what you can afford? So, for example, if you're on 50,000 a year, I'm just doing a round figure, then you would, as a rough guide, if you had no debt at all and it was just a straight 50,000, then you'd be looking roughly at 225,000. as a rough guide. Obviously, we have proper calculators, and we'd be able to give you a more exact figure. Plus, the whole thing that makes life more interesting is the fact that every single lender will offer you slightly different because they have different criteria. Some will take 100% of your bonus, even if you've only just started your role. Some you need 2 years history. Some, if it's monthly, then they're fine with taking 3 months worth. If it's annually, you have to have 2 years worth. If it's quarterly, then you need a year's worth. There's so many different criteria depending on the lender, and some will take 50% of the bonus, some will take 75%, some will take 100. Some will take all of your commission, some will take half of your commission, some will take all of, if you've got a second salary, some will take half of it, some will take all of it. On your first, your accounts, if you're self-employed, some will take the latest year if it's higher, some will only take the latest year if it's lower, some will take an average of 2, some will take an average of 3. So it really, really is important for you to use a mortgage advisor in order to basically maximize what you can borrow depending on what your circumstances are. So that's also very important. But by knowing a rough idea of what you can borrow, then you can think to yourself, okay, how much do I want to buy a property for? So for the example of the 225,000, then you say to yourself, okay, well, I'd like to put down a 10% deposit. So that would be 22,500. Or if you want to do a 5% deposit, or if you want to do a 20% deposit, how much can you borrow against how much can you actually afford, and then against how much deposit can you raise. Now, once you know ballpark figure you want to put down 10% in this example, you need to be able to save up the 22,500. Now, if you're planning to be mortgage ready by the end of the year, then you can simply divide that figure by 12, and then you know every single month what you need to be saving. Now, you can just put it straight into a savings account, but then there are things like ISAs and LISAs and other ways to save up deposits, invest in stocks and shares or things like that. Crypto and whatever you want to do in order to save that deposit. There are loads of different combinations. You can invest in something knowing that you'll get the money back at the end of the year, and you can look at that. So that's another thing to look at. So we've talked about what it means to get mortgage ready. We've talked about why it's important. So now it really is, what are you going to do? What is your next step? I feel that if you want to own by the end of the year, there are several things you can do. You can go alone and just save up and watch my YouTube videos and get advice and ideas and that kind of thing. That's great. Or if you actually need a helping hand or you want to accelerate it, then I do have a membership called Get Mortgage Ready. And in that membership, firstly, you have online courses, so you can actually work on these things with, and I go in a lot more depth than I have done today on the areas, because obviously I've got more time, and you can actually do all the tasks and work on the steps to get mortgage ready in your own time, because they are online courses and you can watch them and watch them and watch them many times. If you don't understand it the first time, watch it the next time, watch it 2 or 3 times till it makes sense to you. But I know there are some people out there that will watch things 3, 4, 5 times and still not 100% get it, because everybody is different. For me, I've always understood sort of how property works and coming from an accountancy background, how money works and things like that. But then if it comes to other things like learning a language, I've never been very good at that. I think we all have the things that we find challenging and the things that come naturally to us. So if you wanted to join the Get Mortgage Ready, not only is there online courses, but I do come on and coach every other week. So you can ask me these questions and I will more than happy answer them on these calls. Or if you can't attend the call, it's always recorded, so we can do that. So that's the next thing. And the third thing is the community, which is amazing. It's great in memberships where you have a big community, because then everybody is in the same boat. You're all trying to get mortgage ready. You can bounce ideas off each other. You can encourage each other and you can motivate each other. Because as I said, everybody has a right to own their own home. And I think it's really important. And I think January is the perfect time to start getting mortgage ready.